On March 26, 1993, Annie McCarrick vanished. She was a young American woman living in Dublin, Ireland. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through the community and beyond. The case quickly gained notoriety, becoming one of Ireland's most baffling mysteries. Today, over 3 decades later, Annie's fate remains unknown. The passage of time has done little to dim the hope for answers. Her story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. This is not just a cold case, it's a story about a life cut short, a family left in limbo, and a community forever marked by the shadow of an unsolved disappearance. It's about the tireless pursuit of justice and the enduring power of hope. Annie McCarrick, born on March 21, 1966 in Long Island, New York, was drawn to Ireland. From a young age, she was fascinated by the rich culture, the lush landscapes, and the warm, welcoming people of the Emerald Isle. Her parents often recounted how she would spend hours reading about Ireland, dreaming of one day visiting the country that had captured her imagination. A school trip as a teenager sparked a deep love for the Emerald Isle. It was during this trip that Annie first set foot on Irish soil, and the experience left an indelible mark on her heart. The rolling green hills, the ancient castles, and the vibrant cities all seemed to call out to her, promising adventure and a sense of belonging. This affection led her to pursue studies at St. Patrick's College in Drumcondra. Here, she immersed herself in Irish culture, making friends with locals and other international students who shared her passion for the country. Her time at Drumcondra was filled with joy and discovery as she explored the academic and social life of Ireland, and later at St. Patrick's College in Maynooth during the late 1980s. At Maynooth, Annie continued to thrive, delving deeper into her studies and further solidifying her connection to Ireland. The college's historic campus and vibrant student life provided the perfect backdrop for her academic pursuits and personal growth. After a brief return to New York to study at Stony Brook University, Annie made a life-altering decision. Despite the opportunities in the United States, her heart remained in Ireland. She knew that her true home was across the Atlantic, in the land that had captured her soul. In January 1993, she moved back to Ireland, this time permanently. The decision was not made lightly, but Annie was determined to build a life in the country she loved. She arrived with a sense of excitement and anticipation, ready to embrace the future that awaited her. She settled in the Dublin suburb of Sandymount, sharing a flat with 2 roommates. Sandymount, with its charming streets and close-knit community, quickly became her new home. Annie enjoyed the sense of camaraderie with her roommates and the friendly atmosphere of the neighborhood. To support herself, she worked as a waitress, splitting her time between Café Java on Leeson Street. The job allowed her to meet a variety of people, both locals and tourists, and she relished the opportunity to share her love of Ireland with them. And the Courtyard restaurant in Donnybrook. Working at these establishments, Annie became a familiar face to many, known for her friendly demeanor and dedication to her work. Annie was building a life for herself in a country she had come to call home. She spent her free time exploring Dublin, making new friends and immersing herself in the local culture. Her days were filled with the simple joys of living in a place she adored. Little did she know her time in Ireland would be tragically cut short. Despite the happiness she found, fate had other plans, and the vibrant life she was building would soon be overshadowed by an unforeseen tragedy. March 26, 1993, began like any other day for Annie McCarrick. The bustling streets of Dublin were alive with the usual morning rush, people hurrying to their destinations, unaware of the dark cloud that would soon overshadow the city. She woke up in her Sandymount flat, a cozy apartment filled with the warmth of her personal touches. Little did she know, this day would be her last. The sun filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow on the room as she prepared for her day. She had plans to collect her wages from Café Java, a quaint little spot she frequented. However, when she stopped by, the wages weren't ready. The staff, familiar with her friendly demeanor, assured her they would be available the next day. Undeterred by the minor setback, she made arrangements to return the next day. She chatted briefly with the staff before stepping out into the crisp Dublin air, her mind likely filled with plans for the rest of the day. Later that day, Annie went to the AIB branch in Sandymount. It was a routine visit, something she had done countless times before. Security cameras captured her withdrawing money a little before 11 a.m. The grainy footage showed her calmly completing her transaction, unaware that these images would become crucial in the investigation that followed. This would be the last confirmed sighting of the young American woman. The footage, now a haunting reminder of her last known movements, showed her leaving the bank, blending into the crowd. She made a quick stop at the local Quinsworth supermarket, picking up a few groceries. The mundane task was part of her usual routine, a stark contrast to the extraordinary events that would soon unfold. Around 3 p.m., she returned to her flat. The familiar surroundings offered a brief respite from the outside world, a place where she felt safe and at ease. Just 40 minutes later, a witness spotted her on a bus in Ranelagh, seemingly headed towards Enniskerry, a village nestled in the foothills of the Wicklow Mountains. The bus ride, a common mode of transport, would be her last known journey. And then, Annie McCarrick vanished. The serene beauty of Enniskerry and the Wicklow Mountains stood in stark contrast to the mystery that now enveloped her disappearance, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a community in shock. The Wicklow Mountains, with their breathtaking beauty, held a dark secret. In the early 1990s, the area gained a chilling reputation as the Vanishing Triangle. Several young women had disappeared in the region under suspicious circumstances. When Annie McCarrick vanished, her case became tragically intertwined with the mystery of the missing women. The Gardaí, Ireland's national police force, focused their investigation on the Wicklow Mountains. The disappearances of the other young women weighed heavily on their minds. Had a serial killer claimed another victim? The possibility, while terrifying, couldn't be ignored. Search parties scoured the rugged terrain, hoping for a sign, any sign, of Annie. But the mountains remained tight-lipped, holding their secrets close. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the investigation into Annie McCarrick's disappearance grew more complex. Whispers of sightings and rumors of possible leads swirled around the case, adding to the confusion and heartache. One of the most perplexing leads came from a doorman at Johnny Fox's pub in Glencullen, a village nestled in the Wicklow Mountains. He claimed to have seen Annie with a young man on the evening of her disappearance. According to his account, the man was wearing a distinctive wax jacket. This sighting, however, has been the subject of much debate and speculation over the years. Was it truly Annie, or was it a case of mistaken identity, a cruel trick of memory? Section 6. A Tangled Web, Conflicting Accounts. The investigation into Annie McCarrick's disappearance was hampered by a tangled web of conflicting information and disputed sightings. From the very beginning, the case was mired in confusion, with various witnesses providing differing accounts of her last known movements. This made it incredibly challenging for the investigators to piece together a coherent timeline. Every new detail seemed to raise more questions than answers. Each piece of evidence, rather than clarifying the situation, only added to the complexity. The detectives found themselves constantly reevaluating their theories, as new information often contradicted earlier findings. The last confirmed image of Annie was believed to be from the AIB Bank's security footage, capturing her withdrawing money. This footage was initially thought to be a crucial piece of evidence, providing a clear timestamp of her last known activity. However, a new Garda investigation in 2023 cast doubt on this timeline. The team, using advanced forensic techniques, scrutinized the footage more closely and discovered inconsistencies that had previously been overlooked. They determined that the footage was actually from 11 days earlier. This revelation was a significant setback, as it meant that the timeline the investigators had been working with was fundamentally flawed. This revelation threw the established narrative into disarray. The detectives had to go back to the drawing board, re-examining all the evidence in light of this new information. It was a daunting task, but one that was necessary to get closer to the truth. Adding to the puzzle, Annie's groceries were found unpacked in her flat. This detail, seemingly mundane at first glance, suggested that she had intended to return home shortly after her shopping trip. This seemingly mundane detail held significant weight. It contradicted theories that she had ventured into the Wicklow Mountains that day, as it indicated she had plans to return home and put away her groceries. It suggested that she had intended to return home, contradicting theories that she had ventured into the Wicklow Mountains that day. This small but crucial piece of evidence added another layer of complexity to the case. The conflicting information created a frustrating labyrinth for investigators, making it increasingly difficult to separate fact from fiction. Each new discovery seemed to lead to more questions, and the detectives were left grappling with a case that seemed to grow more complicated with each passing day. Section 7. A cold case heats up. For years, Annie McCarrick's case remained shrouded in mystery. The trail had gone cold, leaving her loved ones with more questions than answers. But in a stunning turn of events, the Garda announced a major development in March 2023. They were upgrading Annie's case to a murder inquiry. This long-awaited breakthrough breathed new life into the investigation. The Garda launched a fresh appeal for information, urging anyone with even the smallest detail to come forward. They re-examined old evidence, chased down new leads, and re-interviewed key witnesses. The case that had once seemed destined to remain unsolved was now front and center once more. Section 8. New leads, new suspects. The renewed investigation into Annie McCarrick's disappearance yielded promising leads. A true crime documentary series, Missing Beyond the Vanishing Triangle, aired on RTE in May 2023, shining a spotlight on Annie's story and the plight of the other missing women. The series featured interviews with family members, investigators, and journalists, providing fresh perspectives and insights into the case. The documentary revealed a chilling new detail. Annie had been harassed by someone she knew before her disappearance. Her family had even tried to alert the Gardaí about this harassment. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation. Two brothers emerged as suspects in Annie's murder. One of them, investigators believe, had attacked Annie shortly before her disappearance. Section 9. The search for truth continues. The disappearance of Annie McCarrick remains an unsolved mystery. The uncertainty surrounding her last known whereabouts, the disputed sighting at Johnny Fox's pub, and the identity of the man she was allegedly seen with continue to haunt the investigation. Despite the upgrade to a murder inquiry and the emergence of new leads and suspects, the case is far from closed. Annie's family and friends, along with a dedicated team of investigators, refuse to give up hope. They cling to the belief that one day, the truth will come to light. Annie's father, John McCarrick, passed away in 2009. The search for answers continues, fueled by a determination to bring justice for Annie and closure to those who loved her most.